everyone to the LEC studio, and just as a quick update in terms of the playoff stakes, Vitality, they are still in the race for playoffs, but a single Schalke or Misfits win for the rest of the week would eliminate them from playoffs contention. The same with an Excel win versus either G2 today or Rogue tomorrow. And Schalke, they are facing Fnatic in our next game, meaning if Schalke win, then Vitality would be out. And we're not only joined by an LCS caster for this one with Kobe, but we also have two players with LCS experience we want to talk about. Where is he? He's already given up on the second segment of the day.
Kobe.
Where are
miss you?
Anyway, he'll be right there. We'll talk about Schalke versus Fnatic. And what I wanted to do is get kind of Kobe's take on...
There he is.
I'm Ben here. Welcome. Good job, me.
No problem. So, Kobe, let's dive straight in. Of course, Nisqy came from Cloud9 to Fnatic. Can you talk a bit about kind of the transfer and what you've seen from him this year? Maybe if you've been able to follow a lot of LEC and how he's performed compared to how he did on Cloud9.
Yeah, I'd love to, Sjokz. Because honestly, I thought he got kind of a raw deal when they first announced his transfer to Fnatic. There were a lot of unhappy fans, but in the LEC, he's been very consistent for Fnatic. Yeah, he had a couple of bad games, but he's really been delivering on the Udyr, Seraphine, even the Zoe and Ryze. Really what I'm excited for, though, and excited for you know, all the LEC fans now to see is with the last game with his Twisted Fate pickup, this is where Nisqy really shined on Cloud9 in his time in the LCS, was roaming mid laners, going around with Blabber, and rolling over mid and jungle. Twisted Fate with the Everfrost pickup. I'm really happy to see Fnatic run the Twisted Fate plus Taliyah plus Renekton top side of the map and absolutely dominate that way, getting these picks. And as you can see from the consistency standpoint here, the assists are all there. The kills and assists in the early game are there. These are the strengths of Nisqy, and I think why Fnatic even was looking at picking him up in the first place.
I think that's a great point, and indeed, Everfrost, we talked about it earlier today on that TF. That'll be a deadly combo. Ender, from what you've seen, how much of a different role is Nisqy playing this on Fnatic this season compared to what Nemesis was doing for them last year?
Well, honestly, I do feel like the roles do have quite a lot of overlap. You know, Nemesis was a huge fan of like the Orianna, a lot of these scaling mages in the mid lane, whereas this year we saw Nisqy getting the Seraphine that I think can function as more of a supportive mid laner, like something like an Orianna, and then they both like the Twisted Fate, and I think Nemesis was at his best, similar to Nisqy, when they were roaming around the map, helping out side lanes and working with their junglers. So I think that with Nisqy, it's a similar identity, but it's a more consistent performance from him as a player.
And we'll see how that evolves when they play in the playoffs, if they do lock it in, which is seeming very likely. Now on to Schalke, who really need to start winning if they want to get into those playoffs, and perhaps someone to help them there could be BrokenBlade in the top lane. Of course, coming famously from TSM. Kobe, what is your take on BrokenBlade in the LEC?
Well, I'm glad that you are starting out the highlight reel with his Aatrox game versus G2, because the beginning of the split, you know, when he first came back to LEC, I was so hyped for it. He's showing up a lot of these, you know, 1v2 situations, lots of carry play on the top side of the map, which is, you know, carrying over from his TSM days. He got a lot of fans from those aggressive plays. Then, of course, unfortunately, Schalke going on that 7-game loss streak. They really did hit kind of a power trough in the mid and late you know, spring split here, so it definitely didn't look as good. But still, you know, the previous game with Fiora coming right back against Astralis, being able to have another one of those carry performances. Again, this is a guy for top lane where you really want to be able to give resources to top side and slam him on a carry. You know, save a counter pick for him. Red side is quite good for BrokenBlade, so you can guarantee a counter pick, jungle pressure, and then let him play these side lanes. Really let him come up with those plays. So I'm happy to see that we did get a bit of it here in the LEC before they did go on their big loss streak.
Yeah, and I think that looking at Schalke, how they sort of swapped out top laners coming into this year, you know, they had Odwamne. I think losing that is that's always going to sting for them. And they're both very strong top laners, but they look very different, right? Odwamne is the type of guy that's going to end up carrying you games, but doesn't require that assistant. It isn't really about playing forward in lane, whereas BrokenBlade has given Schalke the ability to say, hey, come on, come up towards the top side. I'm going to get these, you know, super strong counter picks and absolutely break open top lane. And it's opened up that sort of attack avenue for Schalke.
Yes, it has. Nice to have a focus on these two players with their NA experience, but it is high tide for Schalke to pick up some wins. We'll also see what the former LCS solo laners can do this game as we leave it to Vedi for picks and bans.
Vedi, let's go.
Thank you very much, Ender. I share that enthusiasm. Vedi, let's go. I'm Medi, he's Vedi. You guys are coming with us. We're going on a wild ride as we're going to get on into Fnatic versus Schalke.
Did you enjoy your week off last week?
I was pretty nice. I played a lot of League of Legends. I went from Diamond 2 to Diamond 4, so that's an accomplishment.
The classic, yeah, the great rise into the great fall. Every League of Legends player has experienced it, but right now it feels like that Fnatic is on the rise. Schalke has been struggling. Right now they're the team that seems to be stuck in Diamond 4 that's trying very hard to get out and secure that playoff spot. A win here would be very important for them, but Fnatic, they can lock themselves a playoff spot with a win today. So, we have a big game on the line. Medic, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Time for the game.
Let's go! First, of course, we have to go through the draft. Schalke on the the draft comes first. Schalke on the blue side, Fnatic on the red. I will just quickly proviso this draft with the fact we actually had to remake this draft once. Hylissang and Upset were unable to swap at the end of the first draft. They then remade it, they swapped champions. What you guys will see on your screen is without Hylissang and Upset swapping. So we'll see what champions they pick. I don't know yet, but we will know that they're going to swap at the end of draft.
All right, so let's have a look at what's been taken off the table. So far, Caitlyn and Thresh from the side of Schalke. We've been seeing a little bit more priority on the Caitlyn here in Europe. The Lilia still being considered one of the strongest, but Udyr has been making its way through the draft. Azir has also been very high on the priority list, but not today. Yeah. It's kind of surprising. We saw those nerfs on 11.5, the 10 damage, you know, at every level was kind of surprising. I didn't think it was that big of a nerf, but we haven't seen Azir yet today. We'll see if we'll see it in this game, as Hecarim has been a first pick not only in this game, but kind of more and more. So on this new patch, we are seeing a clearly different priority list, and for Gilius, he's going to get himself that Hecarim.
I mean, things like Hecarim and Udyr have been up near the top of some teams' priorities for the last little while. Schalke will lock it in, as you say. Kai'Sa was the hover there from Fnatic, but instead they're going to get the Senna and the Udyr themselves. So some very strong scaling in the Senna, one of the best scaling AD carries in the game.
For sure. I think what's interesting here is that Upset not going for a hyper-aggressive AD carry. He has played the Senna so far this split, and even in that game, he and Hylissang were able to get a 2 versus 2 kill. So even though they may not be playing the most aggressive bot lane, I imagine that their playstyle will remain the same.
The thing about the Senna, though, is it actually unleashes Hylissang even more, because he gets more gold, because the Senna is in the support role, you know, not farming up, and it means that he can go in with those items a little bit earlier. Schalke deciding that Seraphine is the way they want to go in this draft. A bit of support, a bit of utility, and because the Orianna's locked in, we know that Seraphine is going down to the support role.
Could also be in the bot lane position.
That's true.
Just played bot lane in general is very much what we expect from the champion. Yet to be determined where it will go, but we're going to see the Tahm Kench coming out from Fnatic somewhat as we expected. So not the strongest of engage so far coming out from Fnatic. Good scaling, obviously good peel with the Tahm Kench that's going to be offered. Decent range. I think that when I look at this comp for Fnatic, I'm thinking Azir, you know? Yeah. Having that long range of both the Senna and the Azir combined with some sort of a little bit more frontline in the top, maybe something like a Sion. You'd have a really well-rounded comp from Fnatic, a little bit more on the scaling, but much more on the team fight side. A very strong range, and against things like a Hecarim that kind of want to dive into the backline, I think can be very effective. But we'll have to wait and see what direction Fnatic do take for now. It looks like they're just going to ban out further bot lanes.
I don't really blame them banning out some of those bot lanes. Neon, historically, across the course of this season, has only really played the Kai'Sa, and then after that, he had 8 games on Kai'Sa, 2 on Aphelios, 1 on MF, 1 on Ezreal, 1 on Xayah. So you get rid of the Ezreal here. You could get rid of the Aphelios as well if you wanted, but any of those safer AD carries really starts to put Neon into uncharted waters here, Vedius.
We'll have to see what direction. Of course, he could still be playing that Seraphine in bot lane. We'll have to wait and see. But the Sion ban coming out from Schalke, we discussed this. I think it would be a very effective frontline and engage. We've been seeing it a lot, pretty much throughout the world, this high priority on the Sion. So no real surprise to see that ban away from Schalke. Question is, what will they look to take off the board? Perhaps something like a Gnar. We heard Bwipo on Euphoria talking about how the meta is basically Gnar versus everything else and kind of what you want to play into the Gnar. It was a very interesting discussion. Would highly recommend going and checking out and listening to his thoughts on the topic of top lane. What will they actually choose to ban away? It looks like it's going to be a Karma. It does suggest that Schalke could be thinking something a little bit more aggressive in the top lane, maybe going for something like a Renekton, as we've often seen, which Karma can be a difficult matchup for.
The problem for Schalke is, of course, they're probably going to have to pick their top laner blind here. Fnatic can pick mid on this rotation, and then Bwipo will still have counter pick for last. Of course, Gnar, a very safe top laner, has the ability to get away, but also to trade relatively effectively, as you said, as Bwipo said in the Euphoria interview. There is Zoe for Nisqy. Hasn't played it that much this season, but was pretty well known for it when he was over in the LCS.
And I think that it still offers that range that we were talking about when paired up with a Senna. There's going to be a lot of poke damage coming out from this team, a lot of pick power too from both the Zoe E and the Senna W. There's a lot of threat in that combo as well. So Fnatic clearly going for a long-range poke, somewhat teamfight style, but we'll get a little bit more into that as Schalke going to answer with a blind Urgot up towards the top lane. Haven't seen this champion for a while. I think this may very well be the first one of the split, if I'm not correct.
You are correct.
I am correct. Yep. That's the word I was looking for. Obviously does offer a little bit of team fight power, but already also a strong top side of the map. Now we can figure out what is going to be in the bot lane. So it does look like that we're going to get a Seraphine in the bot lane position paired up with the Alistar, which means that we do have a bit of a top side focused draft coming out from Schalke. Not that unusual for this team. We heard the analyst desk talking about it. You kind of want to play through BrokenBlade. He picked up the Fiora last week, and Gilius tried to gank him a lot in the early game that didn't go that well. They were still able to get a win, but I imagine that they're going to look to do the same thing again here, as it seems as though Bwipo is going to answer with his famous Gangplank pick.
All right, it's his most played across the course of his career. 28 games on it, 19 wins, 9 losses. So sitting at about a 70% win rate on that chap. Into the Urgot, you can trade okay with the parlay, but we'll have to watch how that laning phase goes down. We haven't seen Urgot much at all in 2021. It's actually only been played 2 other times, once in Brazil and once in Vietnam, and has gone 1-1 across the course of those 2 games.
Well, what I do like about the Gangplank is I think its ultimate is very effective against control mages in general, and against relatively short-range champions like Urgot, I think the GP ultimate can cause huge devastation. So I think that in the team fights later on, it can be a real threat the early game, so you have to be a little bit worried for Bwipo. If he loses his flash, if Gilius tries to just repeatedly gank up towards the top side, he could be in some serious trouble pre-6 if that Urgot is able to get ahead. We'll have to wait and see as we're jumping into game.
Quick reminder that Hylissang and Upset did switch. Upset is playing the Senna, Hylissang is playing the Tahm Kench. And a reminder of the stakes. Fnatic win and they're in. Schalke still on the edge of playoffs. A win here could help solidify their spot in the top 6. And onto the Rift we go. There we see Upset piloting the Senna. Guardian already procced on Hylissang there. Of course, can still push in. A level 1 Seraphine, not the scariest, especially since you've seen she's already taken Q instead of the E, so couldn't land a multi-man route in a level 1 scenario.
Yeah, I imagine this bot lane is not going to be the most exciting.
But Vedi, it's Fnatic, 11 solo kills in the 2v2.
That's the crazy thing, right? We talk about how we don't expect it to be hyper crazy, but that's mainly because of the matchup. When you look at the players, all you get is non-stop aggression and violence.
Oh, they've been stopped.
Speaking of...
Limit's going to get the knockback with the headbutt. Sleep has landed already and the chase is on. You told me there'd be no violence, and Fnatic are having it a very different way. Violence is on the menu. Neon, Flash, Lick, Selfmade going in with a Tiger stance, and it's first blood to Hylissang.
And Fnatic will find themselves a very quick kill in the early game, and now they have their eyes set on Schalke's red buff. Fnatic looking like they're going to split up the map and perhaps put a little bit more pressure on Neon now that he has no Flash. Wow, Fnatic off to an aggressive start.
It's so quintessentially Fnatic, though. They have been so bloody, so quick in their last few games. You can see large gold leads at the 15-minute mark, huge gold advantages, and their average game time in Week 7 was sub 27 minutes, Vedius, 3 minutes faster than the average game time in the league.
Major lead represents the amount of time that Fnatic spends with a major gold lead. That is quite a high value.
Yes.
And that is the point that we're trying to get at Fnatic. When they get a lead, they tend to hold on to it. They snowball very effectively, and this team just likes to play ruthlessly aggressive. Now let's have a look at what they're doing in the early game. Now, Fnatic set up that they were going to split map, but Schalke didn't actually get any vision in the jungle. Hang on a second, that's a good stun.
Abbedagge's been put to sleep, and the paddle star! Abbedagge didn't even respect Flash behind the minions.
Wow. Nisqy just straight up solo kills Abbedagge. I mean, we do not have fake Abbedagge today, and it seems like Fnatic, they're on fire. What a crazy play there. Like, it seemed that Abbedagge had already taken a lot of poke already in the laning phase. But the fact that he would die in a 1v1 like that, very surprising. In any case, we've got to get back towards the bot lane. You can see a wave stacking up. Where is Selfmade right now? It looks like that he's pathing towards his bot side jungle, and it looks like for now that he's not going to threaten a dive. With a huge stacked wave like that, there was the possibility for Fnatic to set something up, but instead they're going to play it safe. They're going to allow their jungle to continue clearing, and it seems that Gilius recognized what was going on and also is able to path towards his bot side camp. So his pathing is a little screwed up, but he's still able to keep up a little bit behind Selfmade, but for the most part still staying relatively even.
Yeah, one of the important things for Fnatic is with that red invade, usually what happens is you give up your own red. The enemy jungler goes in there, steals that away, but because Nisqy got the solo kill in mid lane, because he had prior in the lane, because Selfmade was able to get over to his own red quadrant so quickly, they actually stopped Gilius from getting any red buffs on this first rotation.
And the other important thing is that we imagined Schalke actually wanted to path from bot side to top and then look to play around BrokenBlade. Yep. We talked about how important that top lane matchup was for BrokenBlade, but Bwipo just got a free lane. He knew exactly where the enemy jungler was. He knew that Gilius wouldn't path in towards top side as well, because Selfmade, he actually went all the way back up into his own half and did a full clear down towards the bot side. So Fnatic played around their top while also enabling their bot after getting the kill, and then mid lane goes and gets a solo kill, just like everything worked out for Fnatic and they had all their lanes covered. So now they've got themselves a 1.5k gold lead already at the 4-minute mark.
Actually absurd how far ahead they are, and Selfmade is trying to make it a little bit further. Already 7 CS, about 2 camps ahead of Gilius. Gilius did get the top side scuttle, and now he's working his way in here, but Nisqy's on a ward. Selfmade up here as well. Could be a little bit greedy from Fnatic to look for this dive, Vedius.
Yeah, I think that it would be a little too risky. I think that Urgot is a difficult champion to dive. I thought that Hylissang took that engage personally and was looking for a fight there, but it seems for now, Upset's just gonna do his support the favor, gonna back him away.
Upset is the support in this.
Oh yes, of course.
Upset is the support.
That's true. Hylissang is the carry. I mean, he has the kill as well, of course. That is a tongue lash that will land.
Last embrace just goes wide. Yeah, Neon with a good sidestep, limit jumping back in. But the problem is that whenever you're trading onto Hylissang here, he's got the thick skin. You want to try and get the damage onto Upset, but then he has the piercing darkness, that Q to heal himself back up in the lane. So it's so difficult unless you have a pure burst to actually kill off a Senna Tahm Kench lane. You can see Gilius trying to hover around his bottom lane here, in case Selfmade had worked his way down here, because they need to get this wave pushed in to force Upset and Hylissang underneath their tower.
Looks like Schalke's bot lane wants to... Oh no, the wave is
frozen
underneath the tower. This is not great for the Schalke bot lane. Of course, Fnatic do want to reset themselves, but you can see that that minion wave is going to die, which means that Schalke is going to lose another minion wave. This wave is also going to walk into them, and it's just advantage after advantage gained for Fnatic, them playing this 2v2 extremely well. But I also wanted to talk about what was happening in the top side earlier on, because it looked like they were threatening a dive, but because Nisqy got that solo kill in mid, he kind of automatically had all this pressure and priority in the mid lane 1v1, which he then used to assist Selfmade in invading the jungle, but also they stacked a wave up topside. Like, one of my biggest criticisms I've had for Fnatic this split is that their macro has not been the strongest. They haven't been respecting things like TPs, they haven't been playing around where their jungler is, they haven't really been respecting what's going on the map. Instead, they've been a little selfish and greedy. Bwipo could be in some danger here. His jungler's not on the top side.
Rampage gets the knockback onto Bwipo. He still has the flash, but Nisqy is here, low mana. Should be able to force BrokenBlade and Gilius away. Both level 6s on Fnatic, and only Abbedagge on 6 for Schalke.
So, Bwipo didn't have to burn anything there. Yeah, but as I was saying earlier, I feel as though Fnatic has just kind of been relying a lot on individual talent, largely to outplay their opponents. And sometimes you'd see that in teamfights, as now Neon has to flash.
Has to get underneath the tower here. The last embrace connecting on him. It has that little bit of an extra hitbox at the tip, makes it very difficult to dodge away when you're trying to get back on into the lane.
Selfmade just going to steal away another red buff. They don't give me an opportunity to give them praise. I think that Fnatic is just playing the map so well right now with how they've used their pressure. And look, Zoe now in the river, Selfmade pathing his way down towards bot lane.
Here's the big thing. You've got these two control wards, which means you know that Selfmade is here, but Schalke have no TPs. So if Selfmade really wanted to commit to going in for that dive, as we can see the sleep landing in the mid lane once again, Abbedagge ignited, trying to shield himself, won't have enough until he flashes away underneath the tower. Nisqy tried to flash in to get that final auto attack, but you can see Selfmade still on the bottom side of the map here. BrokenBlade, no TP, Abbedagge's had to back away, and I thought more was going to happen from that. I was hoping Selfmade would go for the dive, I'll be honest, but instead, he will go for the Infernal Dragon.
I think he was a little worried because the wave got cleared out very quickly. So he decided not to risk it. Instead, as you rightly said, he's going to go for the Infernal. And Fnatic can be quite happy with the pressure. They've nearly converted this into a 2k gold lead. Top lane is going very well, but it could flip at any moment. Gilius making his way up towards top.
And he has the Onslaught of Shadows. Bwipo on the wrong side of the rift. Fear Beyond Death not available for BrokenBlade because he doesn't have the mana. Gilius smites. Here's a TP in from Fnatic. Looks like Hylissang's going to join the fray. Bwipo flashes away, and Hylissang could just gobble up Bwipo if he needs to. Flash was expended there for the Fnatic top laner, but Schalke should be able to walk away from this one. Hylissang looking for the Devour, is going to spit back Gilius, and there's a waiting Babel and a waiting Bwipo. Another kill in the bank for Fnatic.
You called it, Medic. Hylissang is the carry in this bot lane, using his TP to go up towards top side. He knew that Gilius didn't have anything to escape, and now he's got his eyes set on another one. BrokenBlade, though, has the safety of his tower for now, but Selfmade's going to use this opportunity to secure himself the Rift Herald. Fnatic just winning across the board.
Hylissang's been watching Kadril stream, and he's like, Kadril always says jungle diff is support diff. Hylissang's like, every lane diff is support diff. I'm top, I'm mid, I'm bot. Just doing everything he can here to help Fnatic get this lead. As you said, Vedi, 2,500 gold ahead. And the one avenue we thought for Schalke, you know, get BrokenBlade on a carry, get him ahead of Bwipo, is now just so shut down. Schalke can send two players up here to try and deal with Hylissang, but they just can't do anything, and the Rift Tower's already down as well. Fnatic have total control of the map.
And this is a situation where you can see, because Hylissang's already in the top side, Upset now swapping up there as well. Double level 6, this would be risky for Fnatic to commit to a fight, but they do have their jungler nearby. They're stacking up the wave, they have the Rift Herald as well, but instead Selfmade just going to choose to reset for the time being. Having a look, I was going to comment on how often in these situations, a champion like Gangplank is actually fine to swap because he has things like his ultimate to mitigate any potential dives, but Schalke did answer with the swap. They are now in the standard 2 versus 2, and with the Drake spawning in about 3 minutes time, I imagine that Fnatic is just going to look to continue keeping up this pressure, keeping up the trades. And again, I'll draw you quickly to the minimap. You'll see how they've set up all this topside vision, so they have so much control and information as to what is going on.
Oh,
it seems that we have a bit of action going on.
Yeah, Nisqy looking for a trade. The shockwave comes in the top side. The last embrace is hit, but Nisqy is low. Look at the bottom side of your picture as he tries to get away. Tongue Lash lands. Limit going back in. Fear Beyond Death connects now, but up to the top side. As we know, Nisqy is dead. Another down as Upset falls in the top lane trade. I believe it was an encore connecting. And Limit continually stepping forward to try and trade on the Fnatic AD carry. Hylissang going back in a 1v2 for now will be okay. But look at where Gilius is, Vedius. He's working his way up here, and you can see the pings coming out from Fnatic, realizing that Gilius could look for a fight. Hylissang backs away.
But Schalke, they finally answer back. They get a couple kills on the board. They'll be able to close the gold gap ever so slightly, but these were much needed kills. It went into the back of BrokenBlade and Neon, two of the lanes that were struggling just a little bit, but this is just Schalke taking advantage of the flashless Nisqy in the mid lane. He's been playing hyper-aggressive all game, and finally he is punished for it. Gilius sees his opportunity, but it is not the mid-jungle duo. It is the Fear Beyond Death.
Oh, into the mince maker. Let's go.
That ends up securing the kill.
That's a Krabby Patty.
Schalke. And meanwhile, they won the 2 versus 2 up towards the top side of the map as well, so just wins across the board for Schalke.
It's a great play for them. As we said, they were falling behind in gold, now only 1,500 behind, and Neon...
I just thought of a really dark joke.
Let's not do that one. Neon does have the Moonstone Manure already complete on the Seraphine. It's going to help him out in these team fights. There's a lot of sustain on the Schalke lineup. I wonder if Fnatic's going to be able to work their way through it if we ever get to that full 5v5 portion of the game.
Dragon spawned in about 1:20. I'm having a look at some of these jungle camps right now. Selfmade back towards the bot side of the map. Upset making his way down towards mid, just collecting what souls that he can. A lot of vision invested from Schalke towards the bot side of the map as well, but Fnatic, for now, trying to maintain control over mid. You can see Hylissang also making his way down towards the mid lane, and it seems that Schalke is willing to trade some of this vision control and the Scuttle Crab in order to get a couple plates, get that push in towards the top. But now it's their turn to move. You can see the Hylissang and Upset going to return up towards the top side, use that ultimate from Tahm Kench, but then this gives the opportunity for Limit to go on the roam. So Nisqy has to respect the potential roam from Limit, and so he's going to play a little bit more defensively.
Ocean Dragon up in about 40 seconds time. Hylissang here just stepping forward, trading aggressively onto Neon. And Neon has to flash away. Limit's coming in from the side as well. But Neon just respecting the fact he could be devoured and walked back there by Hylissang. And for the moment, we'll be okay. Dragon up in 20. We'll see if Fnatic want to fight down towards that one. They have a control ward just behind the pit. They've got TP going in from Bwipo now down towards that bottom side. Importantly, Hylissang's TP is not back up yet. So if a fight did begin on the bottom side of the rift, they wouldn't be able to do anything. But you can see Selfmade actually saying, I want pressure. I want prio in this bottom lane. I'm going to put the rift hell down here. It allows Bwipo to push up towards the tower, get another plate, and it means that the bot side river is totally under our control as Gilius works his way to the top side, knowing Fnatic on the bot. There's the encore, hits onto one. Hylissang does still have the thick skin, will pop it just in time, but the trade is still coming in. Hylissang rooted under the tower, the cannon barrage coming out, and there is the Dawning Shadow. It just about shields Hylissang enough. Limit now underneath the tower, takes a couple of shots. Neon still trying to trade in, but Hylissang is still alive. Gilius stepping forward, the last embrace connects. Upset, one more auto would be enough, but he can't quite get in range. Gilius forced away. The Fnatic get the dragon and survive on the top side.
Wow, this bot lane from Fnatic is just so durable with the thick skin, with the heals, and the range from Upset. Schalke is not able to find the successful cross map, but Schalke have not given up yet. Gilius and Limit are lying in wait. Neon, no TP and has reset. But that's a lot of health. I do not think...
Do they have the burst? They don't have Ignite.
Gilius actually win this.
Well, they're going to go in. The TP coming in from Neon as well as they try and join the Bait. Hylissang knocked back, has the thick skin, and they should be able to win it. It's actually BrokenBlade who TPs in, and he is given the kill. This carry Urgot 2-0-0, same CS as Bwipo now, building up towards that first completed item.
Here comes Selfmade. Perhaps he wants to get a little bit of revenge for his support.
He's running in. Turbo Chem Tank. Walk, bear, stun, slap. I run, I stun, job's done as BrokenBlade is forced back underneath the tower. 3,000 gold lead here for Fnatic, and they are fighting to claim their spot in the playoffs. Right now, it's looking very good for them, Vedi.
Certainly is, Medic. Let's have a quick look at the gold, please, observers. We can see where a lot of it is coming from. You can see the Gangplank sitting with a 700 gold lead right now. Same in the jungle from all that farm differential. Mid has actually been equalized a little bit due to that gank, and Neon actually trailing behind. Hylissang is who you need to compare him to, because remember that Hylissang is taking a lot of that gold for himself as well. So pretty much all across the board, Fnatic finding advantages. And Nisqy, remember, he did get that solo kill in the mid lane as well, but Fnatic pretty much had control outside of a couple of good plays here from Schalke.
So 15 minutes in, let's have a look at just where we are in terms of game state. 3 kills apiece, although there's been a lot more action than those 6 kills in total suggest. 2 dragons to Fnatic. They got the first rift held, second one has spawned. There's about 2,000 gold between these two teams, but both teams are looking for a Barney, are looking for a Frey as they dive in towards this topside river. Shockwave lands onto 2, but it's Selfmade and Hylissang, and they're just too darn tanky. Abbedagge forced down towards the bottom side. Encore lands on 2, and now they're chasing him for a little bit more. Selfmade, very low, Upset already dead. BrokenBlade flashing forward, Fear Beyond Death is going to rip him back. And you can see the Fear actually lands onto Nisqy, but that's 3 kills quickly in favor of Schalke.
And Bwipo had no teleport, so couldn't get involved. Excellent rotation from BrokenBlade to give the 5-man unit of Schalke a really good fight in the river. This will be converted into the Herald. They can use this to potentially break the mid-tier turret and reclaim some control back over this game.
And BrokenBlade getting another kill in that fray, has got a Titanic Hydra now, and this Urgot is well and truly online. It feels a little bit like Fnatic were forcing this, not expecting BrokenBlade to be with the fray.
I think the Hylissang just feels that he's safe here. His whole team is here, but Schalke challenge. They're saying, you're not going to get this ward for free. And actually, BrokenBlade is here before Gangplank can be. Even if he ults, it's not going to make that much of a difference in this situation. A huge encore lands from Neon, which then sets up BrokenBlade to get that ult, force Nisqy away, and Schalke come out ahead in the team fight. So extremely well played there, and that was just a matter of numbers from Schalke. Good awareness of where their team was relative in the map, and they were able to punish the fact that Bwipo did not have his teleport.
And they've shrunk that gold deficit down to about 1,000. It's getting smaller and smaller as the game goes on. We'll see if they can continue to fight back, because of course Schalke are fighting for their playoff lives. If they lose this game, they are not necessarily out, but a win here really puts them close to being in. They could get in via other results going their way, or by picking up another win later in the weekend. And considering they performed such a great run at the end of summer last year, I'm sure they want to try and repeat that. It has been a long time since they picked up a win versus a team in playoffs contention, Vedius. It was all the way back in week 3. Since then, really only beaten Astralis last week. They've been struggling in the second half of spring.
They certainly have. Medic, Schalke, they're a team that last split had a very impressive run all the way into playoffs, and unfortunately, this split has not been the same. But also very quickly have to highlight, I'm pretty sure Nisqy just misclicked his Zhonya's.
I did see it, and I wasn't sure. And I was saying stuff about Schalke, so I was like, I'm going to leave that one.
Because Upset's ultimate also came through, and it looked like they were going for a wombo combo there, but yeah, definitely a misclick. Not sure what he misclicked. His Everfrost was already on cooldown.
Corrupting Potion probably then?
Corrupting Potion, you're actually probably right there. Yeah, to get that extra bit of damage out from that as well. Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Yep.
Pro players make mistakes. Guys, he's one of us, okay? He's one of us.
Oh, TP coming in here from Gangplank. Maybe just trying to get away from BrokenBlade. He's gonna teleport.
I think he just wants to group with his team faster. They're contesting for this mid priority so they can gain access into the river, maybe even a fight.
Abbedagge stunned up, Limit stepping forward. Last Embrace comes out, the Shockwave misses everyone, and Bwipo dives in once again. There's the encore, only lands onto one. Nisqy has a flash in his back pocket. Schalke down to about half HP. BrokenBlade walks across, joined the fray, has that fear beyond death. There's a dragon up in 2 seconds here. Vedius mounting the option. It would be Fnatic's third. BrokenBlade acting as a front man, acting as a bouncer. Rift Herald used here by Schalke in the mid lane. They don't actually have to fight for this dragon if they don't want to. Rift Herald going down. Dragon has been started by Fnatic. Selfmade's on it. Bwipo's on it. But this is going to be the Rift Herald charging in for that mid lane tier 1. It will crack it open. Hylissang stepping forward. The root's going to land onto him. And Hylissang might be done for. Hylissang might be doomed. He manages to flash away with the fear beyond death. It's going to pull the catfish right back in to the jaws of the crab. Gilius goes down in response though. BrokenBlade stepping forward once again. Selfmade lands a stun. I would say going in as much as he can, but now Selfmade's down and it's a double for Broken. He has picked up 5 kills so far this game and he's looking for more. Fnatic though continue on the offensive, continue to step up into the face of Schalke. And all it takes from BrokenBlade here is 1 Q. One good shot to connect. He doesn't have the flash, but he's going to try and get through with a disdain. Doesn't quite get close enough, and it looks like Fnatic have held off Schalke for now.
Schalke, they're holding their own right now. BrokenBlade is acting as that front man, and he is becoming harder and harder to kill. And as Neon and Abbedagge continue to scale up, the shielding that they're going to provide is going to make it very difficult for Fnatic to actually just stop BrokenBlade from following up on any engage that Schalke look to use. This ranged composition from Fnatic, they want to try and keep Schalke at arm's length. The position that they had was great, but now Bwipo looking to try and shut BrokenBlade down.
Dawning Shadow coming out. Bwipo knows there's no tower here. The TP comes in though. Does Bwipo have a way to get away? Cannon Barrage just about to be off cooldown. Could look for the slow from that, but Neon goes one way, Abbedagge goes the other, and the pincer movement binds Bwipo. Hylissang not there in time to gobble up his teammate, and now the chase is on. Limit goes in with the Shurelias. Looking for the stun here. Thick skin pop though. Catfish a lot tankier than you expect it to be. The Man Bear Pig steps forward, stuns up Abbedagge, and the Dawning Shadow's going to... Sorry, the Piercing Light's going to do a little bit of extra damage there. Neon caught off towards the side by himself, shielded up once again, but he's been shut down by Upset. Gilius is nowhere near this fight, so this is very in favor of Fnatic. Abyssal Voyage goes in, that's just the effect. Hylissang was waddling his way into the fight as well. As Schalke are able to back away. They did kill Bwipo, but they lost 2 for it.
Wow, and the fights just continue. They are relentless. They're not even playing for any objectives here. They're just... I mean, I think this play from Bwipo is absolutely fine because he's getting a shutdown, but committing 2 of your teleports to just exchange for a single kill, I really don't think is worth it because, yes, maybe they do get the kill onto Bwipo, but look at the rest of the map state right now. You can see all of Fnatic is already parting their way bot. There's nothing that they can really trade anywhere else on the map. And as I mentioned, yes, they do get that kill, but you can see how much damage Hylissang is just soaking up, buying time for both Upset and Nisqy to make their way forwards. You can see, I think that's a Prowler's Claw on top of Nisqy as well to just get a bit of extra damage onto Neon. And Fnatic just continue the chase.
Is it cancelled by Liandry's burn? Because it gets cancelled if you take damage.
I don't know enough about Tahm Kench.
So I'm going to say, I think Liandry's burn just cancelled his ult.
What I can say is that it was cancelled. I'm pretty confident. In any case, they couldn't quite get any further kills. And while they are behind in kills, Fnatic still lead in the gold. But I think Schalke putting up a very strong fight. I think Fnatic is just taking many fights that they don't need to take. And this, funnily enough, comes back to what I was talking about earlier.
You praised them for not doing this earlier on.
It's one of those things where sometimes I feel as though they don't fully think about what is going on the map right now. It's a question of like, hey, maybe they could look for a cross-map play rather than going for a fight, and instead they'll almost always take the fight. Sometimes, though, they don't respect positions on the map, and when we go back to that Urgot play that happened in the mid lane, the problem there was that they didn't respect the fact that Bwipo couldn't TP in, and that Urgot was missing. So he ended up joining the fight first, they were at a numbers disadvantage, and they end up losing. So this is a common trait that we have been seeing from Fnatic, but the weird thing is, it doesn't matter sometimes because they often outplay their way out of situations. Because like the reality is that this Fnatic roster is stacked with talent. And you can see that even though they're behind in kills right now, still ahead in gold, they are one Drake away from the Soul. They have a very clear win condition, and they have a strong comp for setting up around this objective too. So we'll see if Schalke can get to a point where they're strong enough to get a good fight, and they're looking for one now.
Here goes Limit. Shirelli is in. Devour immediately used by Hylissang on Nisqy, and that's that done. Can't really get too much more out of that. I will note, Schalke do still have some hopes in this game. We've seen how close some of the fights have been recently. BrokenBlade, throughout the course of this season, has been consistently stepping up, leading the team in terms of damage, getting advantages in lane. Of course, we're well out of the laning phase now, but if he can step up once again and really show how powerful Urgot can be in a team fight, that could be Schalke's way back.
I think what's impressive about BrokenBlade is when you look at the team scoreline, you can see how statistically he's having a strong performance. Let's see if he can carry this fight.
TPing in, Limit rooted up, Selfmade trying to get us to the backline. The root lands on BrokenBlade as well, but watch him as Hylissang has just been devoured in the middle of the meat grinder. This Schalke. Onslaught of Shadows used by Gilius. The Fear resets the fight for a second. Last Embrace going to land there as well. There's the Dawning Shadow and Nisqy stepping forward. There's a Shockwave only onto two. Selfmade trying to step in, and BrokenBlade just can't get through the Udyr right now. Does have the Fear Beyond Death. I think Nisqy healed up with that Q from the Senna is going to be a little bit too hard to get onto, but here goes Limit once again. Fear Beyond Death comes out, and even asleep, BrokenBlades is the nightmare of Fnatic. He dives in onto Bwipo, and that's two quick kills for the Urgot, but Upset and Selfmade can continue on the offensive. Both full HP. Schalke scattered to the 3 separate wins of the Rift.
Did Neon just flash the wrong way? I swear he actually flashed into the range, it seemed, of Fnatic. It happened so quickly, but it looked to me like Schalke had won that fight, and then at the flip of a coin, it feels like that it swaps back into Fnatic's favor. They're now so close to securing themselves the Dragon Soul. It looks like that BrokenBlade is just going to back off. Wow. That start, what an impressive engage from Limit with the follow-up from BrokenBlade, the top support combo really coming up clutch, but it just wasn't enough. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the fight. Gangplank on his way down, but the TP comes in first. So again, 5 versus 4, TP response. But you can see how this is a 4 versus 2 on the front line. Selfmade just trying to buy time while Hylissang ends up dropping. BrokenBlade takes a huge amount of damage, and this moment, it's like a reset in the fight. Medic, you highlighted it, but then Gilius, he realizes he's overstepped. He ends up getting punished. The Shockwave cannot be followed up on, and now it feels like both teams are kind of eyeing each other up, waiting for cooldowns. But then here comes the engage from Limit. He sees the opportunity onto Nisqy. Flash immediately followed up with by BrokenBlade, and this is where we think the fight starts to swing. I love this flash that we're going to see from BrokenBlade here as well to try and chase Bwipo down, but the timing is a little bit off. At this point, I think the fight is won, but look at Neon. He does, he flashes straight into them. If he'd gotten over the wall, that could have been enough for Schalke to actually contest that next Drake. But that slight mishap means that Fnatic has enough members to secure themselves the Mountain Soul. But surprisingly, Schalke have been able to close the gold gap, so this game is still very close. You can see that Schalke very strong in the team fights. But with this Soul now, Fnatic is going to be that much harder to kill.
What I'm loving about this game, though, is even if Schalke lose this, what a step up from their previous weeks. What a performance, what a change for them. Yes, they're playing through the same playstyle. It's still BrokenBlade on a carry, get him ahead, give Limit someone he can hard engage with, and then play through your top lane. But to push Fnatic like this is so much better than we have seen from Schalke over the second half of the season. They're going to continue to try and do it right now. Fnatic have set up around the Baron. BrokenBlade, once again, the front man, the front line. On
from Limit.
The front, as here comes the Sjokz, and Bwipo is immediately dead. That engage was absolutely nutty. The charm coming out as well, and there's the double. Abbedagge teaming up with Limit, and that's a wombo combo I'd love to see again.
Jungle diff is support diff, and Limit comes up clutch right there. What a beautiful engage alongside Abbedagge to destroy the Fnatic front line. With only 3 members alive, it's going to be difficult. Selfmade does not have flash. Limit is on guard duty. I think Schalke have got this.
Yeah, Selfmade has no flash. He's knocked away. Limit will probably die for this. But objective diff is support diff. As the objective is secured by Schalke, they get the Baron. We are 26 minutes into the game, and for the first time in those 26, Schalke have a substantial gold lead.
All right, so let's have a look at this engage. The Hex Flash from Limit,
baby.
knock up onto the Gangplank, and then the Shockwave comes through. And the reality is it only hits 1 member, but it's a crucial member. Taking out Bwipo is a lot of damage, and because the rest of Fnatic is immediately forced to disengage, that then leaves Hylissang out to dry. Very well played from Schalke.
Also, because of that, I want to highlight Neon's items. He now has the Chemtech Putrefier alongside the Moonstone. So not only is he buffing up Abbedagge, buffing up himself, giving healing across his entire team, he is also mitigating all of the extra healing that is coming out from that Senna in the fights. And we saw in the fight that led to the Mountain Soul just how much Upset can do, just how much sustain he can give to his team. That is going to be reduced by 60%. In a lot of these future fights.
It's true, and the other item I wanted to highlight was the Serpent's Fang. We often don't get to see it, but it has been locked in for Bwipo, and against shields, it is super effective and a very cheap item. And notice that Bwipo has gone for this lethality build as well. Not a huge amount of armor on the side of Schalke, which means that if he lands some good barrels, he can do a big difference. Let's see what they'll be able to do. The Elder Drake spawns in 2 minutes' time. Schalke still hold on to the Baron. A lot of the outer towers have fallen down, but Schalke still hold on to their mid-tier 1. Once again, we're in the mid lane. Both teams looking for a fight. That's a big barrel.
Counter barrage coming out as well, but Abbedagge is going to be able to sidestep it and just walk his way away. For any Senna stack enthusiasts out there, 146 right now on Upset. We haven't really talked about him too much this game, but he has been quietly carrying 4-2-3. Has... well, actually, only the Kraken Slayer complete. You look at it, he's got Executioner's Calling. He's on his way to a Ginsu still. A premier build here as the engage comes in the mid lane. And look at that, Tahm Kench is already dead. The charm comes out, lands onto 2, the Shockwave only lands onto 1. Selfmade though, caught out, Fear Beyond Death goes wide. Limit dives in once again. Nisqy up towards the side, can't really get into this fight. And at the moment, Fnatic are fighting a 5v3. BrokenBlade stepping in once again, and Upset goes back to the fountain. The dive continues as Gilius dives underneath the tower. And you can see Nisqy, Selfmade, and Bwipo just trying to hold the line. Have a last bastion of defense against this Baron buff, because Schalke are looking to break these inhibitor towers, looking to break the inhibitor, and then hopefully use that to continue to break open this game and get their playoff hopes just that ever bit closer.
Yeah, how tanky BrokenBlade is, just soaking up all this damage, and Schalke, they're just not giving Fnatic any opportunity to use any of their poke, any of their pick. They're just hard engaging at every opportunity they see, and look at this, straight onto Hylissang. They do not care. Any sort of follow-up is immediately nulled by the ultimate from Neon, and the way in which Schalke can commit to these fights is beautiful to watch.
Hylissang was CC'd for so long, he didn't even get to press his E. The man has 4 keys, he only needed to press 1 of them. He couldn't do it in the fight, and the engage just continues and continues. And you talked about it, Vedius, like, Gilius oversteps a little bit here, going a little bit too deep, but the fact that Schalke, with the healing from Moonstuff, with the extra movement speed coming out from Neon, with the chase potential in an Alistar and an Urgot, it becomes so difficult when you're on the back foot to ever get away from this team. And right now, Fnatic are on the back foot in this game, fighting for this Elder Dragon.
But they're in a great position right now. They have the bot wave pushed in, and they have primary control over the river. They're going to lose mid priority, which has super minions. minions. Now this is where it gets crucial for Schalke. Do they just run it down mid, or do they look to contest the Drake? Because they have an opportunity here to actually just straight up end the game.
Sleep onto Gilius. Limit going in, but Gilius is still asleep. The secondary engage isn't quite there. The encore comes out. The charm, it lands. The shockwave lands onto 2 as well. And upset is gone. Selfmade trying to do what he can with Nisqy and Bwipo, but I do not think Fnatic have this. I think for the first time since week 3, Schalke have been able to find a victory, have been able to find a win against a team above them in contention. And they're looking for their spot in the playoffs. This does not secure it, but it darn well gets them close. Nisqy pops the stopwatch. BrokenBlade decides, screw team fights, I want the Nexus. He put the team on his back once again. And BrokenBlade on the Urgot. 9, 1, and 8 will carry Schalke to an incredible win versus Fnatic.
A very bloody game, constantly back and forth. But even though Fnatic had the soul, Schalke were able to fight their way back in. They played those fights extremely well, and they didn't give Fnatic the opportunity to use the range from their composition. 120 stacks on the Senna, but it didn't matter. Limit was just like, I'm Hex flashing in, I'm engaging. I have the Orianna Shockwave to follow up, I have the Hecarim ultimate to follow up, and I have all this damage coming out from BrokenBlade in the top lane as well. Extremely well-played fights from Schalke, and they got a huge win against Fnatic. This just makes the playoff race all the more exciting.
Oh, it makes it so spicy. Like between Excel, Misfit, Schalke, that whole bundle down there is going to be a lot of fun to watch over the next couple of days. Kia player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter, BrokenBlade, Abbedagge, and Limit. We know who you're giving it to. Fnatic may have had the soul, but BrokenBlade was the spirit.
I think Limit, though, was really insane.
I'm a big Justice for Supports guy now. Give it to the Urgot, who went 9-1-8. He carried. He did so well. He did everything he needed to do.
Both great options, I feel. Or give some love to mids, you know? Shockwave. Not to one person.
If all you can say is Shockwave to one person, I think we know who's excluded. We'll tell you more about Schalke's win in just a minute as Laure is joined by the man who should get the player of the game, BrokenBlade.
LEC super week. Schalke and Fear defeat Fnatic, and with this victory, they also lock Vitality out of playoffs. Now, BrokenBlade, I know you entered this week with a difficult situation. This game against Fnatic wasn't crucial, but still, it's a good thing that you won it, so congrats on that. But I want to know, how did you manage expectations, stress, kept your focus, and kept your head cool, knowing that you were coming out of a slump for the past few weeks?
We for sure knew that Fnatic was probably going to be our hardest match. Obviously, we still have 2 more games, but having us getting the victory today is really, really big for us. It relieves a lot of pressure on us. Obviously, we still want to win as many games as possible, since we did lose a lot of games that we shouldn't have. And I'm just really, really happy that we could perform today and get the win.
I know that you can't say too much about the strategy, of course, but have you been able to work on what has been going wrong for you guys? And do you think this week is going to be the best week for you?
Honestly, I mean, the strategy in this game was really easy. Like, Fnatic really wants to fight, and we were strong in the fight. So we just went mid and fought. But I think that we did have a lot better practice, actually, the last 2 weeks. And yeah, I believe that we will still show a good performance in the next upcoming games.
Yeah, that is very good to hear that you had good training at home. And you have 2 remaining opponents, which are going to be Excel and Vitality. But before jumping on that, I guess that you can imagine that you got the player of the game here today, playing Urgot, which was actually the very first Urgot played this year in the LEC. So talk me through the draft. Why did you think this champion was so good here? And can it actually find a place in the meta?
I think it is pretty strong right now, actually, if you can get through the early game. I think the early game is like the hardest part of that champ. And also, Fnatic's team comp had little to almost no CC at all, which is really, really good for my champ, obviously. And it's really good against Tahm Kench, since I can ult him. I literally force him to buy QSS this game. And every time someone just, like, we got a Alistar, like, combo on him, and I just flip him into our team, and he just dies. This is definitely a pick that can be strong, but it needs to be picked in the right situations, and then you can have a good game.
Interesting. Yeah, we saw that the top lane meta was very open since the beginning of the year, so it makes sense. But okay, last question here for you. You told me that, of course, you have hopes for playoffs and for the rest of the games, but I want to know, how is the team doing right now? Tell me about the spirit coming into these 2 last games.
Actually, the team atmosphere has been always good. Actually, from week 1 to this week, we have actually been really close with each other. We talk to each other a lot, and I think that's also a reason why we could come back and even get a win today, because we are very open to criticism in this team, and we can take a lot of stuff in practice, even if days go bad. Like in the beginning of this week, actually, we had a really, really bad scrim day, and we managed to bounce back, and we managed to get a lot of good practice, which led us to win today as well.
All right, well, I hope that the fans will be relieved hearing that. And BrokenBlade, thank you so much for the interview, and best of luck for the remaining 2 games. Thank you. And for more on that game, let's send it over to Sjokz. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Laure. Great to hear from BrokenBlade, the one we set up before the game, and he played fantastically. We know they're a streaky team, so this win will definitely help. We get a longer look at Laure. Nobody's going to complain about that. So, Schalke and Fear take down Fnatic, and with that, they eliminate Vitality from playoffs contention, where there is a winner. Unfortunately, there must be a loser. But let's talk a bit about the game, and since I have 2 junglers with me of varying skill.
We're both pretty good at the game. Come on.
That's what I was going to say. I was trying to think about it, but you're actually both quite... Aren't you both like Diamond or something?
You've been master.
Who's she flaming? Is she flaming both of us? Or what?
I don't know. I think she's just saying we're not K-Drill level. Oh, man.
Fair enough, fair enough. He did hit rank 1 in like 3 seasons, so I guess that's fair.
I wasn't trying to, you know, break you down or whatever. No, you guys are great, and so are our junglers here. So we wanted to talk a little bit in depth about those 2 junglers. We had an Udyr versus Hecarim matchup, but what's specifically important for the early game is the fact that Fnatic went for the invade, and that of course then can change your plan. So, Ender, can you set this up?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because what effectively Selfmade does, he goes into the enemy bot side after getting the first blood, so it means a free red buff for him. And we actually have the whole replay of the early game as well to show you guys exactly what happened after this play, because it puts Gilius in a really challenging situation on this Hecarim where he can't really go back into his bot side jungle and try to fight this Udyr. He also doesn't have the time to then run to the enemy top side of the jungle, because if he does that, he spends a century running around and not farming his camp, so he would fall even further behind.
Kobe?
Plus, if we take into account the overall draft, this is an early kill and flash blown on the Seraphine lane. Super weak lane for the bottom side of the map. It's more about the team fighting. And you have a Zoe into Orianna winning matchup with the extra range towards mid. And you end up getting a Nisqy solo kill later on Abbedagge as well. This, though, is just the picture of Selfmade crossing. When you counter jungle the red and steal away the Raptors, taking away that bottom quadrant for Gilius. You see him even poking his head up there. There's nothing he can do about it. Udyr has already crossed over and secured the 3 buff start.
Yeah, and I think like Gilius does have an interesting idea there as he walks in to check the Raptors, because there's a world where Gilius goes like immediately to his red buff and Hecarim can maybe sneak away Raptors from underneath him, because there's no other camps for him to go to on the map. He can't counter invade the bot side jungle. The only camp that's available for him are Krugs, and I think the Raptors were counter jungled in his jungle. So it was a really difficult position for him to be in, and even the added volatility around mid meant that Nisqy was able to get that solo kill.
And that all looks very good for Fnatic, and it also made me worry about Schalke specifically, because Gilius has had a lot of off games in the last couple of weeks, but Schalke did manage to fight back. As we get into this next team fight replay, Kobe, what is it that Schalke wants? What is the ideal setup for them for a team fight? Is it this?
Well, like we're talking about earlier, the Seraphine Alistar bottom lane is all about these team fights, and this setup is just, that is perfect. The Alistar flash in, gets the knock up on the priority targets. Shockwave, even perfect positioning, actually gets him closer, so the Urgot can then get in for the reset. And you heard BrokenBlade talking about how he was able to offensively use the ultimate fear, flashing forward to catch more people as well. That critical team fight, was at a point where it was a pivot point in the game as well, and Fnatic had been riding high on a lot of this early momentum, but with that single team fight, Schalke take back so much control and are able to snowball from there.
Yeah, and when you look at the two, team fights sort of stacked next to each other from both sides, like all Schalke want to do is sprint at you. They have this insanely high effective range of engage where, the Seraphine ult can go halfway across the map, Hecarim can run you down as well. And then Fnatic have a lot of these very squishy, range champions trying to poke you out, play these slow fights around their cooldowns, and ultimately, buy as much time in the fight. A fight can go a very long time when they've got 3 champions without ults, and they can sort of kite away from the big ult engages from Schalke. Then the fights could look good for Fnatic, but they don't really have the CC or the disengage tools to actually make that happen. A Tahm Kench is not enough, especially when Hylissang, more often than not, was frontlining. He can't devour his backline if he's the one in the front absorbing all the damage.
It's in his nature. What are you going to do? So, Schalke comes back from a very dicey situation, and the man we talked about before, Kobe, BrokenBlade, had a great game. BrokenBlade on Urgot was the first Urgot in LEC this season. I mean, it's a day of first for top laners.
Yeah, he definitely deserved this one. It was a huge performance in a lot of the individual scenarios too. A lot of his earlier kills, he did teleport in to collect the one on top side, but he also had a really big snipe, super long range with the Urgot ultimate, catching Seraphine in transition to pick up that one. But then so much of the team play too. And you talk about how important the CC chains are in the front line as well. So many of these, guess what? Tahm Kench didn't even get to get off his own grayskin to protect himself, much less even think about devouring his teammates and saving the teammates.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic performance by BrokenBlade on Urgot, and Schalke still in the race. And coming up next, Misfits look to stay on the same score as Schalke as they face off against Mad Lions.